All right, a happy Thursday morning. Hopefully everyone is doing great. You're probably asking, why are you doing this video on a Thursday morning? It's because I am about to catch a flight to Connecticut to Mohegan Sun to see my good friend Adrian Wojnarowski get inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. So certainly looking forward to heading up to CT and uh, seeing Woj and all my former and current colleagues in a great weekend of Hall of Fame inductions. Carmel Anthony, Dwight Howard. Ironically, both of those guys are going into the Hall of Fame. I spent probably 2 years out of my life with the Nets chasing, trying to trade for both, and both go into the Hall of Fame. But I thought we would do a video on certainly Kawhi Leonard, the situation with that, and kind of just kind of go into the semantics as far as what is going to happen or what could happen and what might not happen or probably won't happen. And then kind of just do a little bit of a whip around the NBA on some of these restricted free agents. We are post Labor Day. We are in the stretch run before we get back to training camp. Most players are reporting. Most teams, I would say all teams, are just putting their finishing touches on their roster right now here. So we're getting close to the start of this preseason here. NBA Today returns next week, the week of the 8th. I'll be out there in a couple weeks for TV, and we'll get going here as far as the basketball season, which certainly. We'll probably take a backstage to the NFL, go Jets, and college football, go Trojans. All right, a little bit about Kawhi, and really, I wanted to talk about this. It's funny, the Kawhi stuff comes out yesterday morning. I hate reading social media in the morning, but I read it and I saw the Pablo Torre. I saw the 4-minute video, and then I listened to a bunch of it on my walk yesterday morning. His podcast here, and I posted about PJ Washington signing an extension for close to $90 million, and the comments, which I hate reading, comments on social media is like weighing yourself on the scale. You might feel good about 6 out of the 7 days you weigh yourself, and then the one day your weight is a little bit high and it ruins your day. That's what the comments are on social media. And everyone, there was like 4 comments. Are you not going to talk about Kawhi? Aren't you a reporter? Well, really not a reporter. I'm a former front office exec. I didn't go to journalism school here. Aren't you going to talk about Kawhi? Why isn't ESPN talking about it? And then we did. We put out an article. There's a big article, really detailed article on ESPN.com. I sent over all my notes to our editors as far as certainly what the salary cap circumvention penalties are. I do think there's a lot more digging into it. The Clippers released a statement last night, a detailed statement. So I kind of want to go through the actual process when the league says that they are going to begin an investigation, just because I've been there. Not many people have been in the position where they've been investigated for salary cap circumvention, and I have been there in 2013. Andre Karolinko in Brooklyn, we signed him to a three-year, $10 million contract. I think at the time it was the tax ML, which and why we were investigated. A, we had a Russian owner, and B, that Karolinko had declined a $10 million player option here, and that basically set off the alarms here. And basically, what's going to happen with the Clippers here, and I'll go into detail what Pablo has, I guess, accused of happening, and there is some truth to some of this, and I'll tell you why. And I think the Clippers will probably say there's some truth to it also, and they've actually come out and said it. The league will hire an outside law firm. The law firm, it's basically if you're being investigated by the Department of Justice or the FBI or the government, they'll come in and basically seize all your electronics. They'll do a forensics test, forensic investigation as far as the paper trail. They'll look at all your finances here. Fortunately for us, we were exonerated about the investigation started in early July, and we were exonerated probably early early August. So I would say it's probably about a month investigation. Maybe this will be longer, but goodness, the Clippers have been investigated so many times for Kawhi Leonard that they probably have the records from the last time they went through this year. It's been an ongoing thing since they signed him in 2019. So the league will hire an outside law firm. They'll come in, probably most of these records they have already with the Clippers, and they will go through this and then they will make a determination here. What Pablo, who is a really good reporter and has certainly, a former ESPN colleague, I ran across him a couple of times. Basically the accusations are is that Steve Ballmer invested in this company, Aspiration, I believe. Um, Steve Ballmer admitted that he did invest in it was basically a startup. I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty as far as what they do and planting trees and all this stuff, but the synopsis of this is that he invested in this company. They became a sponsor of the team. In that process, remember, Kawhi signed a $103 million contract in 2019. He signed a $176 million contract extension in 21, 176, and then another $150 million in close to 150 million in 2024. In the process of this company, Aspiration, signed Leonard to a marketing deal. That's not uncommon. Okay, when you are allowed to have a player who plays for you and get paid for doing a marketing deal for a company that is one of your sponsors. There's no rules to that here and stuff. Where the I guess we could say accusations or where the report is coming out is, of course, is that because the Clippers had invested money, as far as with this, which is being reported, that they are saying that the money that was invested basically went into Kawhi Leonard's pocket. He was paid 4 years, $28 million for basically a no-show job. The optics don't look good, right? If you have an owner who's basically who put money into a startup company, then you have a player who gets a marketing deal at $7 million per, which is a huge number, and there's no trace of him doing any public appearances or doing any work. Um, that doesn't look good. However, this is what I will say. Optics and what you are convicted of and what the league finds are two totally different things here. Um, Unless there is a paper trail, and I know they showed the document there with Kawhi Leonard's company in there, and certainly Steve Ballmer, and there was also the forum on there. So if you want to go investigate the Knicks because James Dolan owns them too, you can go in that direction too. Um, Unless there is a paper trail where basically, and a paper trail does not consist of seven former workers who are masked behind a one of those devices that disguises your voice. That doesn't count. In interviewing somebody who says, you know what, the Clippers paid money and they circumvented the cap and they paid Kawhi a no-show job and 28 extra million dollars. That doesn't count as far as what somebody says. You're going to need to show a paper trail of evidence in that the money that Steve Ballmer paid for this startup company, which actually went bankrupt and is now under a criminal investigation, and one of their co-founders is going to go to jail probably for a long, long time. It was a fraudulent, basically Ponzi scheme. That the money that Steve Ballmer invested in this company went into Kawhi Leonard's pocket directly. So basically, when he made the when he wrote a check or sent a wire, that wire directly went into Kawhi Leonard's pocket. I think it's going to be extremely, extremely, extremely difficult to do that. And the second, the Clippers are not dumb. If any of you were around in 2000 for the Joe Smith situation in Minnesota, and that was, I think it was 2000, maybe late 90s, that was different because they basically circumvented the cap because they had fake contracts in a draw because they basically had Smith signing 1 year contracts with with a bigger contract on the horizon because to skirt around the bird provision here, and they got dinged 3.5 million. Kevin McHale and Glenn Taylor got suspended a year. They got docked 5 first round picks. Eventually came out to three. The Clippers are not dumb to, first of all, leave a messy paper trail that they're going to basically ruin their franchise. It's basically the equivalent of the death penalty. And if you want to know what the death penalty is, go back to look at SMU football in the 80s, basically with the death penalty here. So we will wait and see what the comes out of this investigation. I'm not anticipating anything, and that's not any disrespect to Pablo's reporting, but I've been part of, as I said, salary cap circumvention cases here. This does the optics don't look good, but it doesn't meet the smell test as far as a team that's circumventing the salary cap, and we'll wait and see. A little bit of a whip around the NBA here. We still have the restricted free agents out there: Jonathan Kuminga, Quentin Grimes, Cam Thomas, and Josh Giddey. I am anticipating. I think we might go 4 for 4, and this is just my digging around the NBA. We might go 4 for 4 on qualifying offers, and that might change in the next week. And players have up until October 1st to sign the QO. I think we're going to see pretty shortly here Cam Thomas likely sign his qualifying offer, which is at 6 million. Deron Sharp signed his contract on Wednesday. That basically sets the wheels in motion here that Brooklyn is starting to use cap space. I do think we'll see Cam Thomas sign a qualifying offer at $6 million. I think we're going to see the same thing with Quentin Grimes potentially um, in Philadelphia. He's at 8.8 roughly here. I think where Philadelphia is from a team standpoint, where they drafted VJ Edgecombe, they got Jared McCain back, and they have Tyrese Maxey. As great as Grimes was during the second half of the season, I don't see them committing 18, $19 million on a multi-year deal. And I think that's the direction we're going to see with Quentin Grimes. Jonathan Kuminga, when you run the Warriors numbers, the most they can give him in the first year is right around 22.5 million, because they are going to sign likely Al Horford to the tax mid-level. That triggers the second apron. And then once you fill out your roster with other players at the minimum, that has to get you under the second apron here. So basically, the Kuminga situation is right now is that he's got an offer for 2 for 45. There's a team option in there. Of course, if you're Kuminga, you'd like to have a player option or both years guaranteed. If you are Kuminga, do you want to bet on yourself? His QO is right around $8 million, and then he would become an unrestricted free agent. All players who sign a 1 year qualifying offer become an unrestricted free agent. They have a de facto no trade clause because they're on a 1 year deal, and they'll have bird rights with their next team. If they are traded, they lose bird rights. Basically, you have non-bird maximum is 120% off your current year, or if team has cap space, or the non-tax mid-level exception here. But Kuminga's situation is pretty fluid. I think we'll see what happens. The sign and trade, of course, comes back, but you remember, if you're taking back more money, you get hard capped at the first apron. Certainly a confusing situation if you're Jonathan Kuminga, but the offer is the offer. They're not going any more up off that, that $22.5 million number, maybe right 21.7, based on where they are, how they have to fill out their roster with the rest of the players. And then there's Josh Giddey. So when you dig around the Josh Giddey situation, who had a terrific year, certainly in the last 25 games, he was offered 4 years, $80 million before when free agency started. That number has gotten up to 4 years, 88. That number is in the bottom of starting point guards here. So if you're the Bulls and you just committed 5 years, $90 million to Patrick Williams based off a lesser body of work, now you're all of a sudden you're drawing a line in the sand as far as where you are with Josh Giddey here. I think it's a matter of how you value Josh Giddey. If you think he's your point guard of the future, then you sign him to what point guard money is. And I'm not saying you sign him to Emmanuel Quickley money at 32.5 million or 5 years, $160 million. But you sign him in that 26 to $28 million number, and you do it for 3 years or 4 years. And if it's 4 years, $100 million, or 4 years, $110 million, it's still good value going forward. Remember, PJ Washington signed a 4 for 90. That number, the 20, it's roughly 20 and change, is less than 12% of the salary cap. So if you're going for Giddey at 25, 26, 27, what is that? 15%. The max is 25% of the salary cap. We'll see what happens with Giddey if that number rises over the next few weeks here. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't increase, he signs the QO also, which would be remarkable for players signing the qualifying offers. So we will pay attention to the restricted free agents. We will pay attention to um, the Kawhi Leonard situation. We kind of went into detail as far as what to happen. As I said, I don't expect anything to happen with the Leonard situation. We'll let it play out. Shams reported Thanasis. Antetokounmpo, of course, signed that 1 year deal, which he did. I do find it funny because you have Bucks fans saying, "Well, wait a minute, like you guys have been wrong about the whole, about the whole Giannis thing about him wanting out." I'm like, and I'm thinking like, what do you think? Why do you think they signed his brother? And I'll leave it at that. Everyone have a great Thursday. We will talk soon. Try to post at what I look like. Keep them going, try to wear, I pull up long range. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's NBA over here,